Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northwest corner of the map, playing in red, we've got Corvinus 1, playing as the Ottomans. And his opponent in the southeast, playing in blue, we've got Myriad, playing as the English. Welcome everyone to Lipany. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. We're going to have a cracking game today, the English versus the Ottomans. Lots to talk about, especially with some new changes and some new styles of playing, actually, with some of these civilizations. You've got the English, of course, that can often go for the Abbey of Kings, get the Free King, a very typical build at the moment. In fact, to be honest, I can't really remember the last time we've seen the Council Hall. Things have definitely changed for the English. The Ottoman side of things, kind of some cool plays recently. Some players have actually started to opt for the Sultanhani trade network, rather than the Mehmed Imperial, not the Mehmed Imperial Army, but the Berry one. That will come back to me, but anyway, let's take a look, actually. It would have been the Twin Minaret Madrasa. That is indeed it. Forgot it for a second, but yeah, Sultanhani Trade Network is kind of fantastic in a way, because it gives you that passive gold generation, especially if you think you're going to be under pressure. Especially with a forward gold position like this. It also helps them, secure passive income of gold, but more importantly, can also establish itself as a trade route, of course, so possibly getting some traders out on the map. And I mean, I think for a long time it's made a lot of sense, that landmark. People have definitely favoured the food. And I suspect it's probably because of the extended feudal age that the Ottomans tended to play. But there was a time when actually the feudal age is the main powerhouse age for the Ottomans. And so it makes a lot of sense to get food, right? Because your main stay of resources being spent would be food and wood. But with things slightly changed, maybe a bit more of a posturing towards the castle age, maybe imperial age, the Ottomans are actually starting to find a great deal of benefit of going with the Sultanhani trade network. Now, I don't know what the corvinus is going to be up to here today. Maybe he's going to go for the Twin Minaret Madrasa. You never really know. We'll soon find out. The English, on the other hand, though, is quite typical. They're going to go for the Abbey of Kings. I'm kind of excited, though, if they're going to be going for a second town centre or go for feudal age aggression. They can do either both, but it looks like indeed it will be a second town centre out for the English. Got some really safe resources as well with the gold and the stone. And typically they place that second town centre very close to home to make it a very condensed economy, get those farms up, get plenty of food. And it will indeed be the Sultanhani trade network. There it is. Can I get that passive generation of gold by getting traders garrisoned inside? You can garrison up to 10, by the way. Just a decent amount of gold that comes in every minute. Now, I'd like to say a very big thank you for everyone supporting the channel, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome on in, LC Driver, on the Twitch side of things. I am streaming live on Twitch these days, so welcome to come and say hello. It'll be good to see you. Now, on a map like Lipany, with how various kind of spawns it can happen, like, it's kind of okay on this one. You've got, easily walling up here for the Ottomans, I gotta say, for the English as well. To be fair, pretty symmetrical as a map. So we might start to see maybe a mid to late game sort of play here, rather than super aggressive early on. Definitely some walling capabilities. I definitely think it's going to suit the English playstyle here, because of the fact that there's not a lot to wall off, right? Especially with the second town centre placement. I wonder whether the Ottomans are going to go for a 2 TC play as well. No, it's just 2 villages on stone, looking to get the military schools, of course. And then work from there. And map generation does definitely seem to suit a more passive approach, a bit more of a booming approach. We'll see if the Ottomans can punish that, though. And there is that feudal age now in for Myriad, as well as Corvinus. In fact, it's actually 3 traders. I thought it had 4 traders spawning in, but there we go, 3 of them. Get a bit of gold coming in passively per minute. Now, I wonder whether that means it's going to think about Castle Age as an option. Not necessarily the case, because they can still play a pretty good feudal age extended with the gold. They can use the gold for upgrades, and whether it be blacksmith upgrades or eco upgrades, you name it, they can get it. Not a problem with that. Saving up for the wood and stone for the second town centre. Now, I wonder whether he's going to be placing a bit more further out. There's always potential for it. This would be like an amazing spot for it. Deer, berries, gold as well, but it doesn't really fit the playstyle of the English. Going 2 town centres can be a little bit greedy up against a civilization that's looking to punish it. So it might just be a bit more well advised to place it closer to home. There is the English king moving his way out and to see what value he can get. Now, one of the benefits of actually going with the Sultanhani trade network is that it means you don't really need villages on gold for a short period of time. It means the king doesn't actually get as much value as he would like. There is that blacksmith opening. Going to be increasing the production speed of these free units from the military school, but more importantly, give access to those upgrades if he needs them. And he's going to place it a bit further out. Okay, well, there we go. He's going to go for the deer camp, golden berries. And I think a lot of this makes sense, right? Because of the fact that they can wall this up. Like a minimal wood investment saves that space quite easily. Definitely a base layout or map layout that suits the English in this playstyle, I think. Just small walling the wood line just to make sure the king can't get too much value. Or any value, really. Corvinus might try something a bit cheeky to push the deer camp out, but these villagers can shoot with the bows quite quickly. So they managed to get them relatively close by, but Corvinus obviously being a bit of a pain. Not too terrible, all things considered. We're dropping that lumber camp just to make that a bit more efficient, as you'd expect. Now, the kind of great thing about this matchup is that you've got the castle age from the Ottomans getting the Mehmed Imperial Armory, getting those mangonels, which could be really useful against the quite typically infantry-based army from the English. Mangonels will counter, longbow spearmen quite well. It does have a bit of a trouble, though, going up against man-at-arms. If you've got a good few number of those mangonels, you should be okay. The English themselves, obviously going to the castle age themselves, can go with the white tower. That does give them essentially a siege workshop with increased production speed, or the double the speed actually compared to the usual siege workshop, and of course can double up, triple up, quadruple up with the basically make any unit there, whether it be for an archery range unit, barracks unit, stable unit. White tower seems to do it all. Gonna add an archery range there. So yeah, definitely a play into heavy feudal age, 2 military schools, and also double archery range. Getting iron under mesh first. Now the palisade I kind of helped him a little bit actually. Managed to get a good charge in. Didn't lose anything though, and did lose a little bit of HP myriad, so I had to back on out of there. There's the first of the Sipahi. Now the second town centre, of course, that villager lead will start to climb pretty nicely. And I'm curious to see if he's going to open with a stable or not. It's going to be double archery range, so he's going to rely on the longbows for now. And I don't hate it, especially having seen double archery range, right? Then it starts to become a little bit interesting where they start to think, well, the longbows will look to utilise their range, the archers will look to try and utilise their movement speed and mobility. Beastie just backing away from that one. Beastie? I was about to say, it's actually Myriad, of course. I've been casting so many Beastie games today that for a second there, we thought it was Beastie, but it is indeed Myriad. Bringing the king away. Now the Sipahi, of course, actually rides a little bit faster than the king, faster movement speed. So we'd be able to keep up, but I'm not so sure he'll be able to kill him. It looks like he's going to be able to escape out of this one. Just about. I mean, would he be able to make it back home or not? That's the question. He's got 38 HP. Is he going to take the fight? I think he loses that. I don't think he can take that fight. Either way, longbow starting to build up. Getting double broadaxe, which is actually a really nice upgrade for the English. Miniature units definitely very dependent on wood, and unfortunately the king will go down now to the Sipahi. Any moment now. There he goes. Oh, tried to get the palisade walls up now. Did most of it, but he's going to be probably breaking through. In fact, does he have siege engineering? Yeah, he does actually. Corvinus going to start with a ram and nice and early, trying to pressurize that second town centre. Or pressure that second town centre. I know you guys in the comments on YouTube. I know you mentioned it. I picked up on it this time. But yeah, he's going to apply some pressure. Try and break his way through. Going to start the villager. Bit of a throwaway of villager there for Myriad, but we'll see if he can defend, right? This is the key issue. He's actually managed to pump out a few villagers. So he's definitely got some good amount of food coming on in. If he can at least take the most of the deer pack, that'd be ideal. Longbow's starting to head in that position, and this is where it becomes a little bit tricky for Corvinus, right? This has actually bought a significant period of time, these palisades. It doesn't seem like a lot, but 2 town centers does mean the army comes out slowly, but an extra minute or two before the army actually hits from Corvinus, it gives him plenty of time to keep pumping. Got plenty of food in the bank here, Myriad, so I'd be kind of interested to see if he does think about adding a stable for some horsemen to add into the mix. So there's a potential option. I think going up against Archer Sipahi could be a nice shout. The big problem for Myriad is he doesn't really have too much to counter the ram directly. He might need to use some villagers. I wonder if he's going to get textiles. He does have textiles. It's actually a really nice upgrade to get in this situation, right? Just increases the amount of damage they can soak up a little bit before dying, and it can make all the difference. There we go. Archers are going to selectively focus on the villagers there for Corvinus, which is actually a tough decision, right? Because if you do that, it allows the longbows to, you know, get shots off easily. Speaking of which, they're getting quite a few shots on the Sipahi. One goes down, another remains. Now just start to pick those units off. Torches coming out again from the villagers. Now it doesn't seem like that ram will survive. The archer numbers really start to escalate. Oh god, the pathing there for those villagers there for Myriad. I don't know where they're going. But this is becoming a bit dicey for Myriad. I don't think he keeps hold of this town centre. I think he has to vacate. I think he has to run those villagers before it's too late. It's a decent amount of eco tied up here. He will start to torch down one ram, but there's another one already waiting, and I'd already started, in fact, ramming that thing down, and doesn't seem like the town centre will last for too much longer. Yeah, it's going to try his best to take out the rams, but looks like with the reinforcements coming in, another Sipahi as well. He's definitely done a lot of damage, killed 14 villagers so far, Corvinus, so has balanced out the villager counts. But he's starting to now lose those archer numbers. I think with the number of longbows there are, he'll be fine at defending this, but probably does lose the town centre. There it goes. It does go down in the end. And so both players now down to one town centre apiece. But the big difference here is that Corvinus has killed 20 villagers. That is absolutely huge. He's got a great eco advantage now because of it. And Sipahi goes down. Well, Corvinus's push has pretty much stalled out. In fact, he's redirecting it towards the middle somewhat. But he has killed a lot of villagers. 20 so far. Great start for him. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if he was trading a little bit. But not yet. Not yet. The great thing as well that it does allow him to get onto the deer camps a bit further out on the map and take the free food. Whereas Myriad is going to have to rebuild that economy again. That's for sure. Adding in some barracks. So possibly going for some man-at-arms. Maybe some spearmen. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of a curious one, right? We do see often players go for spearmen, but I feel like man-at-arms could be a really nice play here. We'll tank a lot of the damage coming out from the archers. Allows the longbows to get more effect here. It looks like Corvinus is opting for a castle age. After doing quite a bit of damage. Just doesn't quite have the food income just yet. Kind of curiously, it looks like it's time for Myriad to move on out. Looks like he wants to do some damage in return. Led out by the English king. He's going to get the palisades up again. He could potentially just take out the rest of the deer camp with a simple mill. Not too much food left there anyway. Unfortunately, Corvinus doesn't actually have the meta to increase the attack speed, so backs away for now. Granted, the English don't have their network of castles. Again, going a bit too close for comfort. Sipahi dives on it. Oh, he might lose the king actually for free. I think he loses it. Yeah, he does. Bit of a misplay there, unfortunately. And it all comes down to having Steeled Arrow, right? Bear in mind, Myriad didn't actually have Iron Undermesh either. It could protect the forward spot with an outpost or two, but the Mehmed built armory. This is going to be a fantastic play here for Corvinus. That little power spike in the Castle Age. It'll take some time for that free Mangadel to come out, but once it does, it's going to be looking good. The only concern for Myriad is that having lost so many villages, he's probably feeling a bit reluctant to go to the Castle Age. He doesn't really have the economy set up for it either. A massive amount of damage coming out for Corvinus. Great value. I think a lot of it comes down to maybe it was a little bit too greedy of a town centre placement. We do often see the English play a little bit more conservative, but as they say sometimes, no risk it, no biscuit. And Myriad certainly risked it today. Bear in mind as well, the blacksmith will be increasing the production speed of the military schools, as well as Mehmed Imperial Armory, when he does get to the castle age. Going to be increased it by 30%. There we go. It does also mean he should be able to pick up some of those relics. I'm kind of curious to see if he's going to drop down a mosque pretty quickly. He does have the wood for it. Oh, not yet, actually. He needs 200 for that. For a second there, I thought it was 150, but it is indeed 200. Just needs a couple of houses first, and then I'm sure that'll be the next thing we see. Good thing for Myriad, he does have one relic pretty well protected behind the palisades, but the others are all up for grabs for Corvinus. Alright, well, it looks like Myriad up behind this is thinking about the castle age, and I think it makes a lot of sense to bring the army back at this point. Doesn't really feel like he's going to be able to do too much damage, and in fact, I think if he engages now, he loses the fight straight up, so... Yeah, for the English, certainly, it looks like he's going to have to play that late game, which actually, to be fair, is something the English do very well, you know. If I can scale that economy and just defend for the next 10-15 minutes, maybe he can outdo, or undo, the damage that's been done to him already. Getting wheelbarrow will certainly help that economy. Veterancy is in now for the archers. Moving out. That king's going to get absolutely melt. Holy smokes, 2 shots him. Even with iron undermesh, these guys are packing a punch, these veteran archers, for sure. It's going to be the King's Palace. Okay, so he's going to opt for a second town center, but with a different route this time. And it's kind of curious, right? Because knowing that he needs to defend, White Tower possibly would have been a bit better for that purpose. But, yeah, Myriad, he wants to build that economy. He wants to play that late game, I guess, and it makes a lot of sense. The only problem for him is he's got to somehow hold this push off. Because that's a lot of units coming out for Corvinus. That is a lot of units. Snap a couple of archers for using the longbow in range. I mean, if you can get the method, that's huge. That's actually going to really reduce the attack speed of these Ottoman units now. Don't forget, the English do have the network of castles bonus in play. Still relying on the deer camp of the north. And the deer camp of the west, but almost done. There's that castle age. Now's the time to go for Corvinus. It looks like he's trying to get some damage in, but... I mean, it could go for... I mean, he's definitely got to go for the veterancy on the longbows, right? It's almost a no-brainer, but it looks like he's also going for the veterancy on the spearmen. Which is a decent move. The trouble is, Corvinus does have a lot of archers there. If he tries to micro and does get those spearmen numbers down, those lances will do a lot of damage. Here we go. Here's the initial part of the engagement. Archers for Corvinus just sniped out a villager. He's going to try and snipe out the longbows as much as possible. Behind this, but those 2 rams are really going to start taking down infrastructure, which is great for the Ottomans. That's exactly what you want in a push like this. Diving in without rams here is one thing, but diving in with the rams is so much better. Gotta say though, diving in pretty heavy, and he's diving underneath the King's Palace and the town centre. I think Corvinus is going to lose everything here. That's kind of huge. Just still has a decent number of spearmen, and they're going to start to dwindle, but he's still... No, I think he's fine. He's got 3. The longbows will do the rest, and these are not yet veteran longbows, just about to come in time, maybe. We shall see. And to be fair, he'll be fine because he's fighting on the 2 town centres. Effectively, Corvinus trying to cause as much idle time as possible. And it's not looking too easy. More rams coming out. The wood economy looking absolutely fantastic, which is kind of crazy, right? When you think about, he doesn't actually have broad axe yet. But adding a second town center of his own. Now that he's in the castle age, villagers coming out to torch down the rams. It's quite likely he's going to lose the archer range first, though. Unless he starts to commit to repairs, doesn't seem like he will. And down it goes. A lot of infrastructural damage caused here by the Ottomans. But this time, the second town center, or the King's Palace, was placed very close to home. A little bit more conservative, a little bit more safer. The villagers are out with the torches, but this is all like a distraction, right? Behind this, Corvinus has added in his second town center. He's stuck with just the 3 traders inside the Sultan Honey trade network for now. I mean, to be fair, if he pulls the lancers there, or did pull the lancers a little bit earlier, maybe could have killed a couple more villagers. Alas, the villagers remain and they head back home. But being a good 6 villagers behind here, he's kind of under a bit of pressure. Wait, is that 3rd town centre? That's the 3rd town centre for the Ottomans. Okay, he's booming it up. Gonna go for that late game. And what's kind of cool about this matchup is that actually, whilst it used to be very, very English favoured, actually the Ottomans have some really good tricks up their sleeves. The Great Bombard, a unit kind of unparalleled in a way with the splash damage and how good it can be. It can be pretty scary. Now, relics not really being picked up by Corvinus just yet. Double monastery out of the English. It's just the 1 mosque so far for Corvinus. Now, he's slowly losing map control, right? So, he might be missing out on the window of opportunity to pick up some of those relics. Looks like Myriad looking to capitalize on that. Well, what's good for Corvinus is that, well, at this kind of time, often we would see the English having a really good English farm transition. More so than we've got so far. And so that will result in fact, when the farms do need to be placed, it might lead to a bit of a hard transition. It means that units won't be as free-flowing for the English. In many ways, same can be said for the Ottomans, and even more so, really. The Rams just soaking up a little bit. Looks like they're just trying to repair the walls, but I don't think it's going to happen quick enough. Not if the Rams get their way. Lancer's got to be careful. There's a decent number of crossbows, but if they can take out the crossbows, that's definitely a way forward of pushing further forward. Speaking of which, those Rams are pushing further forward. Prelate coming out to heal on out, but he's going to lose his life, most likely. Oh, maybe not. Maybe just about. No, the archers, they switched attention. There's quite a decent amount of wood into this, actually, so Corvinus will do well to try and save these and salvage them and push them with them at a later date. Good amount of food and gold coming in. I wonder whether Myriad is just thinking about maybe an Imperial Age behind this. Just a couple more units and then Imperial Age could be on the cards. Try to pick up one relic there, Corvinus. Didn't quite manage it. Has picked up one so far. Myriad trying to snipe it away, but the Lancer picked him off. Is it making more Rams? Holy moly, he needs more units there, Corvinus. Kind of struggling on that front. Down to 2 military units. Not looking too great. Curious to see him not actually kind of queue up too much. He had a bit of food in the bank. Certainly has a bit of gold. Oh, he's starting to make some traders now. I like it. But certainly, we're heading to the stage of the game where relic situations are important. Has to pick up those relics as quickly as possible. Speaking of which, looks like Myriad is starting to move on out with his monk to pick it all up. Alright, Corvinus just settling for Sacred Site first. Okay, we're starting to see those man-at-arms popping through. We'll need the upgrades to the regular man-at-arms. There we go. Bit of a mixed army composition, but this is where things become a little bit tricky with mangonels, right? Because there's so many infantry units. But I wonder when the next mangonel's going to be. I mean, it almost feels like he was making Rams from that. It doesn't have a single mangonel just yet. Would have expected one by now. Sending a single unit just to decap the Sacred Site, which will happen. Myriad coming out with a Springald or two, which is really important actually going up against the Ottomans. It's something you typically have to do, right? Because they're going to get free siege engines. So it doesn't make a lot of sense getting a Springald. It's a heavy investment, but it's one that's usually worthwhile. I'm kind of curious to see if the Rams will push in and act as a bit of a meat shield, but it's holding off for now. Pretty passive stage of the game, I've got to say, but it's all brewing up a little bit. I think we might start to see a bit of engagement. Looks like Myriad's feeling it. He feels what he wants to push on in. Does have a decent number of man-at-arms, which I think is the kind of show-stopping unit for the English, right? But man-at-arms coming up for the Ottomans themselves. Sprinkled in with a couple of crossbows. Could be tricky here for Myriad to push this in. I don't think he quite has enough, really. Looks like he feels the same. Potentially could take the Sacred Site in the middle. Doesn't have an imam there just yet. Alright, is looking to extend that network of castles bonus, which is going to be kind of pivotal in this next fight if he decides to take it. It's about to take it, Spearman Brace. Allow the crossbows to get god value. I mean, the good thing about Myriad's position, he does have a lot of crossbows, which would be great against the Lancers, great against, well, in some ways, the Archers, and man-at-arms in particular would be great. Trouble is, there's too many Sipahi, right? And the Sipahi now going to dive on top of the longbows and top of the crossbows. There's just not enough spearmen here. Great focus firing by Corvinus to take the spearmen numbers down. Network of castles does go up in the end, but a little bit too little, too late. Corvinus took the fight before that even was in play. And guess what? It's the return of the Rams. They're popping forward again. And this time, Corvinus wants to put some pressure. And he should take that outpost pretty quickly. He's going to get one of his own. He's got to get on top of those crossbows, though, ideally. There's a lot of them. And there's the mangonel. It's popping forward. In fact, there are two of them. I think Corvinus was keeping them hidden earlier on. And the kind of awkward thing about this for Myriad is that you can't micro here with the units. You can't sort of attack move micro because of the fact that they will just focus on the rams, which is exactly what he doesn't want. Maginot deploys, gets a decent shot off. About to deploy once again. Takes out Spearman. No, not just yet, surprisingly enough. Forward Blacksmith for the win there for Corvinus. Wants to get those upgrades ASAP. Now, the bigger thing is that the difference between the two pushes that have happened so far, of course, that Myriad doesn't actually have any siege. He's having to force his way through, brute force his way through. Maginot about to deploy against the man-at-arms, it seems like. Now they're moving a bit further forward, edging a bit further forward, in fact, they're edging backwards. They're not interested, but good number of Sipahi. Take out the Springles, which is massive, and now will allow the Maginot to get a bit more closer if he so wishes to. Good numbers of crossbows. Maginot's deployed there for Corvinus. Kind of a cracking game so far, of course. I mean, the great thing for Myriad is having lost so many villagers early on, he's put himself in a position in the match where actually, you know, he's kind of caught up a little bit and the deficit isn't as huge. Or at least the proportion of the villagers that he's already got is not as huge as the difference. And that plays a big role, right? The longer the game goes on, the longer well, the more it seems like Myriad is in the game. But the concern is these 3 Mangonels now. It's becoming a bit bothersome. Got massive infantry. Be tricky to deal with. Got plenty of food. Looks like the farming transition well underway here for Myriad. And if he does get a Berkshire Palace maybe in the middle, that could be devastating. Could be very hard to push in for Corvinus and would then probably necessitate going for the Imperial Age. Right, does start to get a couple of Springles. Oh, Maginot. Oh, God. Myriad. Oh, no. Oh, God. He lost a good few. Good thing he pushed away. And imagine if he didn't have textiles. That could have been a lot more brutal. Yeah, woodline's a bit of an issue, right? It's got another woodline there, but it's going to become a little bit more tricky for this play style for sure. Being a bit more campy at home. Corvinus, though, pushing on forward with a couple of Springolds and starting to win the siege fights, which is actually kind of concerning, right? When they start to escalate like this, it's a problem. Gonna try and wall up. Springald will snap a couple of villagers. That's 31 villagers so far that Corvinus has killed. That is a big deal. Now he does have plenty of gold. Myriad, if he can afford the Imperial Age of the Berkshire Palace, that would put a bit of a spanner in the works of this pushing. Well, this number of siege units is looking a bit dicey, I've got to say. Does lose 1 Mangonel. Good sniping there by Myriad. Takes out the meta, so Corvinus will need to replace that. This is yet another Springald. In fact, this is a great fight here. Corvinus is mixed micro a little bit. Yeah, sure, he got a massive Mangonel shot, but guess what? He lost all his Springolds in the process. Loses yet another Mangonel. This is massive for... Oh my god, he's taken another. Absolutely phenomenal for Myriad. There's 1 Springald very low on health, and he's kept it alive. 3rd Springald pops out. It does lose the weak one. But that's actually fine. I mean, that one probably shouldn't have lived anyway. And all of a sudden now, Myriad, he's starting to push on out with some premium units. Spearmen, man-at-arms, crossbows. He's got it all. Corvinus is going to reset and regroup and try and push in once again, but Myriad has been up to the task. Just healing on up as well with the Abbey of Kings is really nice to have. This is the great usage of this landmark. Like, you've got the Council, which is a very nice power spike early on in the feudal age, but, you know, scalability is effectively 2 archer ranges, and that's it. It doesn't give much more than that, whereas the Abbey of the Kings is relevant throughout the game, as you can see. There's that farming transition coming out for the Ottomans as well. It's actually going to be the Wingard Palace for Myriad. Looks like he feels confident he can defend, and I mean, ultimately, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad shout because, you know, he does have the network of castles bonus at home. He's got plenty of units, lots of production, lots of economy. Maginot deploys, gets a good shot on those villagers trying to build the outpost. Does lose 1 of the Springolds though to the 1 Maginels rather, to the 2 Springolds. Springle's pushing out a little bit further forward, but can't quite snipe anything more. He's done a lot of work on this already. Those man-at-arms, man, there's the sheer number of them. It's looking dicey for Corvinus to push that away. I think those Springles are relatively low on health. It would be nice to help them repair themselves with the villagers if they can. There we are, there's the Imperial Age. So we're looking to be full pedal to the metal here, I think, for Corvinus, recognising that, you know, there's a lot of resources that just got pumped into the English Imperial Age. Corvinus probably looking to make him pay for that. 3 Spingles, about to deploy. Mangonels deploy on the crossbows. Good shot off them. Managed to retreat the couple, but loses 1 Mangonel already. Good number of Spingles still alive for the English. And another massive Mangonel shot, but only takes out 2 man-at-arms really. Oh no, this is not working well for him. Tall Corvinus loses yet another Mangonel and the Spingle too. Great siege micro here by Myriad. Takes out another Mangonel on Gil Corvinus and another. Jeez, he's really pushing back. Now that is actually kind of clutch. I think that's the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back on this one. Because now Corvinus has to back away. Coming once again with a couple of Springolds. If Myriad is paying attention, I mean, he might just dive it with man-at-arms. Good number of crossbows out for Corvinus. I wonder if Myriad will start to think about countering that. Would he go for horseman potentially? It's always an option. Maybe could go for siege of his own. It's always a bit tricky going up against the Ottomans. They get free siege engines. Here's a trebuchet of all the siege workshop units. Just relying on the 8,000 gold vein there. That's actually going to be kind of crucial. I can't quite see where the one is for Corvinus. Was that it there? That was it. Jeez, talk about map spawn. That was really favourable for Corvinus, that gold spawn, but it is what it is. Looks like though Myriad is playing to the strength of the English, right? This timing on it, 31 minutes, is where units start to really escalate, and you can see it now. Massive army. Corvinus has got a big hold. He needs to hold on really. We'll get to the Imperial Age himself, so likely to get some upgrades. I think once he gets the Imperial Age, this could be good go time for Myriad, right? Recognizing a heck of a lot of resources just pumped into that. Having said that, the economy looking good for Corvinus. Got plenty of resources in the bank, so he should be able to replace the army if he needs to. What won't be easy to replace is the forward siege workshop and the infrastructure. That might go down considering the positioning of it. Man-at-arms about to dive on through, charging in with the Sabahi and Lancers. The Ottomans with a handful of man-at-arms as well, but it's mainly the crossbows that are looking to get as much damage as possible. Great siege micro there by Myriad though, picking off all these siege engines for Corvinus, and I think losing the siege engines, that's actually huge. Wait, what are these villages off to? Wait, what? What? Is he going for a keep drop or something? I'm not entirely sure. They're running like headless chickens though. You have to back away. He's losing a lot. It's pushing by Myriad. It's looking fantastic. 48 military versus 4. I think Corvinus can't keep up. Villagers being sent forward. That's not an idea. That's going to go down well with the Ottomans. He has to back away. I think at this point, Corvinus, he is looking in really bad shape. He's struggling. We do see a couple of Wingard footmen. A really prized unit for the English, I've got to say. Incredibly strong. Plenty of HP on those guys. Really hard to stop. They come out in batches, of course. Mixed in with elite man-at-arms. So much food, so much gold. Corvinus, on the other hand, a lot of his farms now idled. He's kind of struggling on food, if anything. And despite a massive early villager lead, Corvinus hasn't been able to make it materialize into a better force of army. Does have a Rebaldaquin, which will be doing a lot of damage against the footmen and man-at-arms if he can get enough shots. But there's a Springald there that are focusing on the army more than anything else, which is unusual. Needs to focus on the siege. Is now focusing on the Rebaldaquin. Villagers tried to repair, but didn't quite work out for him. There is the elite Sapahi though coming in for the Ottomans, so this could be a pushback. Definitely try and snipe out the siege if you can to allow the Mangonels to do their work. Picks out one. Possibly picks out another. Should pick out all 3. Yeah, unfortunately Myriad is going to lose his siege. Didn't keep it well protected enough. Looking to get some outposts in the forward position, but look at this, fighting on the front lines of the man-at-arms. And they're so tanky at this point. The English slowly moving forward in. He's actually finished out on the gold. Stonewall. Is he going to start trading? Looks like he's almost setting up. Yeah, he's going to start trading. He might not need to, I don't think. Either way, he wants that gold secure and safe and secure for the mid to late game. Well, late game at this point, really. There's another couple of tiles of gold to take at home. Yeah, but he's slowly starting to be overrun here a little bit. And with hand cannoneers, that's going to be a perfect counter to the cavalry. Hand cannoneers, man-at-arms, you can't really ask for too much more. Rebaldaquin, though, getting some good shots. Man-at-arms will be jumping on top of that. Oh, good shots there by Corvinus. That's one way to get back into the game. But at this point, this is where things keep flooding, right? They can just keep sending units, and that's exactly what it's going to do. Going to get forward production as well, just to increase the number of units coming out on the front lines. One more Rebaldaquin. Does have a great bombard as well. Maybe with a couple more of those great bombards, maybe, just maybe, Corvinus could keep pushing out. But I love this detail, right, from the myriad, just continuously replacing and putting forward more production. Just so it can keep up pumping out units, keep the population fully capped out. There are the markets. Should be a really lucrative trade route, actually. The Ottomans, though, just trying to group up together, take one more big fight. 2 Reboldaquins, 2 Great Bombards, a couple of Sabai, a couple of Lances, a couple of Crossbows, a couple of Spring Odds. It's going to come down to this fight, you feel. It's going to dive on in with the Knights, with the Lancers and the Sabai. There's a good number of Spearmen to brace that. I think he just wants to get to the network of castles bonus here, Myriad, and he's doing just that. Trying to snap out those Reboldaquin if they can. Doesn't want the Reboldaquin to be in range of those units here, Myriad, so trying to back away, but Great Bombards firing off. Does snap out one Reboldaquin. One more remains. Hand cannon is dishing out all sorts of trouble. Corvinus, he is in big trouble. Doesn't really have the units. He's pumping out again, but he's starting to lose those all-important siege engines. Going to repair the Great Bombard. Just about stays alive. Snipes out the Spring Ords. This is where the Great Bombard comes a little bit oppressive, but there's just way too many ground units here for Myriad. I think he should get this around, and if he takes out the 3 Great Bombards, you get the feeling it will be curtains. Corvinus struggling to hold that front line. Villagers looking to scramble to repair siege engines as much as they can. They are doing it, but at what cost? The Spy aren't going to survive too long. Not against the Wingard Footmen with 336 HP, 26 damage. Absolutely bonkers, and they got +5 against cavalry as well, just to make things worse for those Sipahi. Does lose 1 Great Bombard, but it's a price worth paying at this point if you can try and survive with this. It doesn't look as much. It doesn't look as likely anymore. Too many Wingard Footmen, too many Hand Cannoneers. And he's pushing right through the heart of the base here, Myriad. He doesn't need to even worry about the size just now. It takes out Great Bombards, and there it is, losing the Great Bombards. That was the final straw. And unfortunately, Corvinus taps out. Great game on lipany, gotta say. Great aggression from the Ottomans. Punished the English in a big way, but sometimes, if you don't kill them, they just come back stronger. Hope you guys enjoy this cast again on YouTube. Take care, and see you next time.